Hi, this is Kayla with the Garden Groomer. I just want to take a moment to run through some plants we're installing for a client in a couple days. We're going for a cottage style, low maintenance, colorful perennial garden for full sun. As a reminder, we're in Des Moines, Iowa, which is a zone 5, so we get really cold winters, really hot summers. All these plants back here are fairly low maintenance, easy to care for, and I'm just going to kind of start rattling through what we have. Okay, so first up we have a type of echinacea or coneflower. This specific variety is called Shayenne Spirit. It comes in an array of kind of hot colors. We've got like a nice buttery yellow, we've got these pink, mauve pink colors, and then some of them kind of have more of an orange color to them. I love using coneflowers. They're super low maintenance, love hot sun. You really just need to water them really well for the first year, and then they just want to be left alone. They don't want any special attention. I love plants like that. Next, we've got anemones or windflowers. The specific variety that we have is a fun one to pronounce. It's called Honorine J. Anyway, it's got a nice fun white bloom to it. I love how dainty they are. They just kind of dance in the wind a little bit, hence windflower. They do readily spread throughout the garden, which I do love for the specific project. We eventually want this whole garden to just be full and have stuff kind of walk around a little bit. So I think these anemones are gonna be a great addition to the garden. I also love their height. You know, if we're coming in and we're planting coneflowers below them, I just love having that contrast in height, and the color is really nice. Plus, white flowers are great. Great for at night. At night, they kind of glow under the moonlight, so always incorporating some white flowers into your garden is really nice. Okay, next we have a type of Coreopsis. Coreopsis comes in a few different colors. The main color is going to be your moonbeam Coreopsis, which is a bright yellow. I already have yellow in the garden here with the coneflowers, but so this time I chose a variety called Berry Chiffon. It's really, really pretty. It's got this like dark mauve magenta color. I love Coreopsis because they're kind of like the coneflowers, or once you plant them, you get them established. They pretty much don't want any attention. They will beef up and spread a little bit, but they're not going to readily self-seed and take over the whole garden, which again is perfect for this cottage style garden that we're installing. This is about as tall as they're gonna get, about like 18 inches, but they can get about 18 to 24 inches wide as well once they get established. There goes the windflowers. Sorry guys. Next, doesn't look like much now, but that's because it's already bloomed. We've got columbine. I love using columbine in my clients' gardens because again, it's super low maintenance, really doesn't want any attention. It can handle our harsh cold winters, and it does self-seed and spread throughout the garden. This specific variety that I had chosen is out of the Songbird series. These are bluebirds, so they're gonna be blue and white blooms. They bloom first thing in the spring, and then through the rest of the season, their foliage tends to die back a little bit. These still look pretty great because they were grown in a greenhouse, but normally by now the foliage would have died back. We are in early October for reference. So these will be one of the first few things to bloom in the garden, which I'm excited about. Next, we have Gara. Gara is one of my favorite perennials, but it is one of those perennials that looks the best when it's mass planted, when you get at least 5 to 10 plants planted in one area, just because one plant alone just doesn't quite do it. But this specific variety is called Whirling Butterflies, and I think that's pretty spot on because their little blooms are like dainty little butterflies when they dance in the wind. Gara is a perennial. All of these plants are going to be perennials. This bloom specifically, it has a white flower, but then the base of the flower is going to be a nice blush pink. I'm just excited to add this kind of grassy texture to the garden. Everything else that we have has pretty broad leaves, pretty sturdy blooms, and I think this is just going to add a really nice kind of dainty vibe, dainty texture to the garden. Love Gara. Okay, next we have probably one of my most used perennials in my gardens. Ask my staff. We're always installing Nepeta or Catmint. I mainly love it for its blooms and its scent. Obviously we can't capture scent in a video, but it smells like a really sweet minty gum. It blooms late spring, early summer for us here in a zone 5. It's got long, like purple blooms on it. The bees, the butterflies, hummingbirds love this. If you do cut your catmint back by halfway, midsummer, you will get a second flush of blooms. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any perennials that had blooms on them right now, but we'll pop up a picture of what they look like on the screen. This specific variety is called Walker's Low. So it's gonna stay a bit smaller than your general catmint, maybe about 12 to 18 inches. It'll be this nice purple mound. We plan on planting these towards the edge of the garden bed to kind of add a nice border, good structure to the garden. No, I swear, I feed the bees, but I don't want them playing with me. Okay, next up, we've got a ground cover. I have a few different ground cover type plants for this garden. I always like to include ground cover plants because the more soil surface you can cover in a garden, the less weeds you're gonna have come through. And it's a great way to also retain moisture and keep that soil temperature cool, especially in our super hot summers here in Iowa. Plants like this really help out the roots of everything else. This is called lamb's ear. And it's looking a little tired right now just because it's been in its container all summer long, but they're a nice kind of sagey green, a soft green color. They will like kind of spread, they'll stay nice and low. They've almost got like, they kind of feel like puppy's ears. They're really, really soft. They will have purple blooms on them late spring, early summer. The blooms are quite small for this variety, but it does spread pretty quickly. We do have some here planted at my house that we can show you to kind of show you what it looks like when it gets established. But we've got lamb's ear going on. This specific variety is called Helen von Stein or Helen von Steen, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Love this stuff. Okay, next up, I brought 2 more over just because they look really nice together. These are also tried and trues with the garden groomer. We plant a lot of both of these varieties. First up, we have yarrow. Yarrow comes in a number of different colors. The 2 colors that we mainly use are going to be yellow and then this really pretty magenta color. This is called New Vintage Violet. It's got a really pretty kind of violet pink color. It is a prolific bloomer. It starts blooming midsummer and goes all the way to first frost. I mean, we're in early October right now. These guys have been in their containers. Not only do they still have blooms on them, but way at the base, they're still putting out new leaves and new growth. So they're just a very powerful perennial. And then we also have some sedum. So this is an upright variety of sedum. There's a number of different kinds of sedum. The main 2 categories would be ground cover and then your upright. This specific variety is called Brilliant. Another common variety that we use is called Autumn Joy, but I picked this specific one because I really wanted that light pink, that blush pink color. Sedums are great. They're a great harvesting plant, what I call. So you can plant it in about 2 years. You can dig this thing up and split it into about 3 or 4 new plants, which is a great bang for your buck when gardening. You can't kill it is another reason why I love planting it. It's not invasive. If you do want to remove it, you can easily remove it, but you can plant this thing and pretty much forget about it, and he's gonna be very happy. He's not gonna hate you. Okay, up next we have 2 more ground covers that we're gonna be planting. One is a spring bloomer, one's a summer bloomer. This is called Creeping Phlox. There is also Upright Phlox, which I don't have here for you, but this is the ground cover variety. It's gonna bloom, first thing in the spring. It usually comes in white, purple, pink. They even have some striped pink ones. This specific variety is called Red, but it is more of like a deep fuchsia, kind of like this. Doesn't look like much for now because he's already done blooming for the season. So for the rest of the year, he'll have this kind of green carpet of foliage. And then we also have dianthus. I love dianthus because they do stay really tight, compact, low to the ground. They're not as shaggy as the phlox, so they have just a nice structure to them. They'll start blooming early to midsummer, and they'll keep pushing out a couple blooms through early fall. I picked this specific variety called Fire Witch because it's a tried and true for our area, and I really loved that bright pink bloom that it's got. First up, actually, I'm going to address the ugly one first. Well, he is beautiful, but come on. This is a New England aster. This specific variety is called Purple Dome, and it's got these bright purple flowers on the top. It is one of the last things to bloom in the garden, so I always try to incorporate some asters. they all grow like this. Throughout the summer, they're building up their foliage, they're collecting that sunlight and water so they can give you this nice, beautiful show at the end of the season, but they drop their leaves as they grow. So I always like to pair them with other perennials to kind of mask the bottom of it. For example, if I was to come in here with some coneflowers and maybe this black-eyed Susan, you kind of see the bottom a little bit less, and it kind of just helps the visual appeal. They are great when they're mass planted. They give you great fall color. The other perennial I'm going to talk about are black-eyed Susans. Pretty common for our area. You'll see these growing all over our Iowa fields. This specifically is a variety called Goldsturm. They will reseed themselves throughout the garden, again, which I love, especially in a cottage garden, because you're going to start to have all these perennials mixed in with each other. They will bloom from the summer, mid to late summer, through the first frost. You'll even see these things blooming with a little bit of snow on them if we get some early snow. Okay, next up we've got a couple more. First here we've got peonies, which if you know anything about peonies, they bloom, saying that a lot, blurm. They bloom right away in the spring. Their blooms only last, gosh, like a week, depending on the weather that we have. So I always get nervous to incorporate too many, because after they're done blooming, you've just got a messy green shrub that's left. So I just have a couple for this client. I went with a pink theme. So we've got a variety called Felix Kraus, and it's gonna be a really deep magenta color, which I'm really excited about. And then we've got a variety called Sorbet, which is more of a really pretty blush, almost like ballet slipper pink. For the rest of the season, they're gonna look like this. They start to die back about now. In another 3 to 4 weeks, we will go ahead and cut them off at the base and just let them go dormant for the season. But I'm just excited for the pop of color that they're gonna bring in the spring, and their smell. They smell so good. And then also we've got here a Skyrocket Juniper, double checking, yes, Rocky Mountain Juniper. I really wanted to incorporate some evergreens into this garden, so even in the midst of winter, the client still has something to look at, something to see. And so I went with these very upright columnar trees. They don't take up a lot of space. I think they get about 12 to 18 feet tall, only about 4 feet wide, which is great because the back garden that these are going into tomorrow isn't huge, but I still wanted to have some structure in the garden. Plus they look really pretty. I like their almost sagey blue foliage that they have. And then the last thing that we'll go talk about is this really cool redbud. Hold on, little guy. Hold on. Are we good? Okay. Okay, and last up, we've got what I'm gonna be considering the showstopper of this garden that we're installing. He may not look like much, okay, but don't judge a tree that's been living in a pot for a few years. This is called a Flamethrower redbud. I'm hoping we can throw up a picture on the screen to show you what it looks like in its glory days, but currently it's getting ready to go dormant. This is a weeping deciduous tree, so it's gonna have a bit more of like a weeping structure to it, kind of like what I like to call like a Dr. Seuss vibe. And this thing gets about 15 to 20 feet tall, and then a 10 to 15 foot spread, which actually isn't all that big, which is perfect for this garden. Obviously he can get pruned to fit the space really well. In the spring, he's gonna be covered in these dainty pink blooms all over his stems. The blooms will fade and then the leaves start to come out. When the leaves first come out, they're gonna be this bright, vibrant red color, and then they fade to like a lime green. The tree itself just looks so cool in the dead of summer. And I'm just super excited to put this into the garden. And that's, I think, about it for the plant haul. So tomorrow we will be loading all these plants up and installing them for the client, and we'll take you with us to show you that process on how we plant. And that's all. I'm excited, and I'll see you in the morning.